Crime is getting worse. That doesn't mean it's the worst it's ever been, but it's getting worse. I have a Twitter thread for you. I've blurred the images because they are fairly graphic, so you can't see them. But this is a man who is mercilessly beaten and hospitalized after trying to save a woman who was being beaten by who he believes is her boyfriend. He was put in the hospital, and despite all that, he says he wants diversion programs. He wants restorative justice, a cult ideological claim. Restorative justice is a meaningless buzzword. Jails, imperfect. The prison system, fairly broken. But I can tell you this. If the best we can do is take someone who attempts to murder other people off the streets and lock them up, then it's the best we can do. I do believe we can start to do better, but the idea of releasing them into the public doesn't seem to make sense at all. This man goes on to document the very serious injuries that he's received, how he can't see and needs a GoFundMe to help him. His eyes are healing. He says, if the guy is caught, my hope is to get him into a diversion program for some serious anger management, backed by probation, to help protect women who get involved with him. For the injuries done to me, I want restorative justice to share my own early struggles with anger to maybe help. Restorative justice, they say. Well, let me tell you about restorative justice and diversion programs. From Bill Malugin of Fox News, he tweets, LAPD arrested a man for stabbing the neck of a construction worker, nearly killing him. Despite a prison recommendation from Probation Department, LA, DA George Gascon's administration agreed to give him diversion instead. He is now charged with murdering his neighbor last week. You see, I don't believe the left actually thinks people can be saved. I think they are trying to release dangerous people onto you and your communities. I think that's what they're genuinely doing. There's no way you see an individual who tries to murder someone and you say, we should let him go. There's no way you get mercilessly beaten and say, nah, it's fine, he can go. Unless you are trying to unleash that onto your enemies. It's like the idea of dropping a bunch of rabid animals in an enemy country or wasps or bugs or something. Like, they're bad for everybody, but send them your enemy's way. And maybe that's exactly what's happening now. Bill Malugin says Stephen Sutherland was arrested for assault with a deadly weapon with GBI in November 2020. Is that Georgia Bureau Investigation? GBI. I don't know what that would. No, with GBI in November 2020. He felt the worker made too much noise. Probation Department recommended prison, warning in writing that he was violent and was a risk for future outbursts. In 21, he received mental health diversion. Sutherland is now charged with fatally shooting his upstairs neighbor, Jennifer Gomez, multiple times in her own apartment last Tuesday. LAPD found 19 shell casings at the scene. He previously confronted her about noise. Fatally shooting her. Shell casings? Are they implying dude took a shotgun? You see, this is why you got to know what you're talking about. Okay? Because there's shotgun shells and there's bullet casings. And if you're talking about bullet casings like a 9mm or something, okay. But if you're saying dude went up there with a shotgun with 19 shells, that implies either dude's got like a KSG 25, KSG 25 is it? Or he reloaded his shotgun several times. 19 casings, even then still implies some kind of weapon he was using. He had to reload. That's crazy. Gomez's family has set up a GoFundMe. Bill says, I reached out to LADA office and asked how it made any sense to give mental health diversion to Sutherland for a violent felony that nearly killed a man. He was released for community treatment and was not in a lockdown facility. Part of their responses below, saying, a court-appointed psychologist deemed him suitable for the treatment program, and our prosecutor agreed to the defense request for mental health diversion. The court approved the treatment plan and deemed the defendant safe for community treatment. We are saddened by the most recent allegations, and our hearts go out to the victim and those who loved them. He says this is the second diversion gone wrong in LA history we've been tipped to recently. Last month, we reported on a woman with violent history of using knives in assaults who received multiple diversions, no prison time, then was arrested for stabbing murder. Our live Fox News report this morning on the tragic case, and then they published it. Dude, look, I understand wanting to stay in cities and try and maintain some control. I understand there are people who can't leave. The one argument I heard is, guy said he got divorced. His kids are here. He's not going to leave him. I said, okay, you're right. You're right. And there may be circumstances I don't quite understand as to why people do stay. I do think a lot of people are putting it off because it's too hard. Yeah. But it's unfair to those who genuinely can't. So I understand and respect that now. I think that if you're in these cities, we need to do our best to support you who are trying to stop the madness. Mike Cernovich tweets, people claim Twitter isn't real life, but it is. All that stuff Ishlibs say would be funny, except it's happening in real life and innocent people are dying because of it. Twitter is real life, and the videos we see on timelines every day exist and represent reality. It's a horrifying reality. Leighton Woodhouse says, Oakland, welcome to the Terror Dome. Showing a screenshot from this one that says Parks Boulevard, Adams Point, Diamond District. These are the neighborhoods that have been voting for these lax policies and mealy-mouthed Oakland politicians. Lockwood, Brooklyn, Sobranti Park, Funktown, the bottoms. We have been begging for more police, stiffer sentences, and cameras for years. Now y'all purses being snatched, y'all babies being shot, y'all houses being invaded, and now it's a crisis. Funny. Newsflash. The blacked out BMW that robbed you yesterday has been sitting on my street causing mayhem in my neighborhood for 5 years. Nobody cared and never made the news when the mayhem was contained to the killing fields. Now the whole town has a target on its back. Welcome to the Terror Dome. Hear. These uppity, liberal, well-to-do types voting for chaos and destruction. Let me show you the classic. Let me pull it up here. Pull up the old classic image. You're going to love this one. It'll take you back to the days of the Summer of Love. Chris Martin Palmer saying, burn that ish down, burn it all down, and posting a picture of a building being destroyed. Then, later, he said, they just attacked our sister community down the street. It's a gated community, and they tried to climb the gates. They had to beat them back, then destroyed a Starbucks, and are now in front of my building. Get these animals the F out of my neighborhood. Go back to where you live. This is evil. They're evil. It's a cult. I am not using those words lightly. No, I'm not saying if you humbly disagree with my personal opinion, you're in a cult. I'm saying when you rally for psychopaths to destroy blindly, you're a cult. You're a zombie. Oh no, they're at my house now. Zombies. I look at this building that's being burnt to the ground. I don't know what it is. But as somebody who is working towards building studios, I can only imagine that there's just some dude who owns a company who built it up and maybe they make t-shirts. Maybe the big factory is a big t-shirt company, or maybe they make crackers. Why was it destroyed? I'm not talking about that building specifically. I'm talking about any of these industrial buildings. What about that guy in Minnesota who had a sports bar? His dream come true. He worked so hard to open a sports bar. It was his dream. And they burnt it to the ground. Destroyed everything. The dude raised like $1 million on social media, so I'm glad to hear it. The Summer of Love was chaos. It was death. It was destruction. And they cheer for it. And we end up with stories like this. Robbers used knives, not a gun. A 60-year-old man walking to his car. Robbed and stabbed. Toddler and stroller hit by bullet shrapnel in Oakland. Sledgehammer break-in. Man, I can't even read all these. There's so many. 63-year-old attacked. 9-person robbery crew, ages 12 to 17. A couple weeks ago, I was skating over in Hagerstown, Maryland, and I was told by the locals there's a gang that goes around robbing people. They can't do anything about it. I said, the police won't do anything? I said, no, of course not. The cops show up and they're like, we're not getting involved. And just watch as this gang beats and robs somebody. Why would you want to live in a place like this? They vote for it every single day. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I said, here's what's going to happen. One day, these people are going to wake up with a knock on their door. And there's going to be some oddly dressed individuals with armbands, and they're going to say, you're a wrong thinker. You oppose our initiatives. Into the van. What? Into the van or else. And you will be detained. One of these days, these people will be sitting in their living room and a stray bullet will go through the window and strike their child. And they'll say, how did this happen? Because they keep doing it. They keep demanding more and more and more. One of these days, a regular person who opposes this and is fighting it will face the brunt of what these people have wrought. We got to speak up and change it. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up in a few minutes. Stick around and I'll see you all shortly.